Before we get into this video, I need to say that I am elated that this video is going to be going up under a whole new regime. Like, we have a new president. Like, oh my God. We have a new president. We have a new vice president. So yeah, praise God. Praise God for that. All right, let's get into this video. Your DNA is inside of your cells and it's protected inside of those cells. Very protected because it's special. Hey YouTube, it's your girl Dr. Ciri here, coming at you with another video. I know, I have been gone for a long time, like almost 2 months. It'll probably be 2 months by the time I put this video up. But I'm back with another video. In today's video, we are going to be talking about the COVID-19 mRNA vaccines, specifically the Pfizer and Moderna vaccines. So if you would like to hear my thoughts about these vaccines as a medical professional, as someone who is pro-vaccines, yeah, just keep on watching. But before I get into the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and tap the notifications bell so that way you never miss an upload from me. All right, let's get into it. Hey y'all, Happy New Year. It's been a while, a long while. Yeah, I have no excuses except that I've just been where the money resides, and YouTube is not that place. So yeah, so I've been at work taking care of COVID patients. But I'm back, so let's get started. So I'm gonna be trying out new makeup today. Some Huda, some Charlotte Tilbury, some Fenty, and we're gonna talk about these COVID vaccines because I have some thoughts. So I'm going to be starting off with the Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter Primer. So these mRNA vaccines. Let's talk about vaccines in general first. If you are against vaccines, this video is not for you at all. So click off. But if you are in favor of vaccines, if you support vaccines, or if you're on the fence, this video is for you. So first off, vaccines exist in general to prevent death. Okay, one of the first vaccines to even come into existence was a smallpox vaccine, and that was in 1976. Edward Jenner is the father of modern vaccinology, and he created the first smallpox vaccine. Now, his methods were questionable, but wasn't everybody's back then. So he created the first smallpox vaccine back in the 1770s. And the reason he created this vaccine was because smallpox was killing people. Now, before he created this vaccine, there was this process called variolation, which is where people just kind of expose themselves to small amounts of the disease in hopes that they would catch a milder form of it and not die. Obviously, that doesn't work because people were catching it after exposing themselves and dying. So in any event, he created this vaccine, and thus vaccines were born. Next, I'm going to be taking my Huda Beauty Faux Filter Stick Foundation in the shade Three Sledges. If you care to know, this is how much comes in the tube. So yeah, he came up with the smallpox vaccine, and by, I want to say, the 1970s, smallpox was eradicated. I didn't need to get a smallpox vaccine. My mom did, my grandfather did, my grandmother did, but yeah, I did not, because smallpox was eradicated. So yay for vaccines, they work, okay? All that to say, vaccines work, and that is why they exist. Even chickenpox, there's this popular trend of taking your children to chickenpox parties for people who are not in favor of vaccines. Now, taking your child to a chickenpox party is a form of variolation, right? Exposing your child to the disease in hopes that they catch it and develop immunity from natural infection. Now, the issue with that is this. Remember how we said vaccines are intended to prevent death? If you take your child to a chickenpox party, you're risking that natural infection will also cause natural complication. And one of the deadly complications of chickenpox is the encephalitis that children get, which is the swelling of the brain that will cause them to die. Now, I had natural infection from chickenpox, and I didn't get encephalitis. I didn't die. I'm obviously still here. And the majority of people don't get the encephalitis and die. But the percentage it's small, but high enough that who wants their kid dying from chickenpox? Nobody. So hence the vaccine exists. Since this whole anti-vax movement started, in medical school, I took care of a child on my pediatric rotation whose parents took him to a chickenpox party, and he unfortunately developed the complication of encephalitis, and he did not make it. Personally, I think his parents should go to jail for that, because don't. Anyway, vaccines save lives. This is blended. This looks really good. I'm a fan. Next, I'm going in with the Overachiever Concealer from Huda Beauty in the shade Cookie Dough. So that's what I needed to tell you all about vaccines in general. Oh, one other thing. There are people who think that vaccines are just you getting a small dose of the disease and getting immunity that way. That's not true. That's a oversimplified way to look at it. But I'm gonna give y'all more credit than that, right? I'm gonna tell y'all exactly what it is, because just like we talked about, variolation is the process of exposing you to a small amount of disease and hoping you develop infection. And we just talked about how people died when that happened. So that's not a safe practice, right? So vaccines are a little different. There are different types of vaccines. So you have dead vaccines, basically, like vaccines that contain a not live form of the disease, virus, bacteria, whatever, that we are injecting you with so that you develop immunity. Now, it's not live, it's not an active form of the disease, it's dead, okay? Then we also have live attenuated. That means a live form of whatever the virus or disease is, but it's been weakened. So not all the way killed, but weakened to the point where it's not going to cause you to develop the disease. That's what vaccines are. There are also other types of vaccines outside of those two that I just mentioned, but for the purpose of this video, that's really all you need to know, okay? Now, let's talk about these mRNA vaccines. mRNA vaccines are new, and yes, the technology, the idea behind it has been around for a while, but we have never studied them in humans before this COVID madness. That's one of the scary things about it. It's just so new, and so it makes a lot of people nervous. And this is also why you have varying opinions among healthcare professionals about it. It's new and it makes people nervous. And a lot of us feel like we just don't know enough about it. Let me explain to you what the mRNA technology actually means. I'm going to take the Anastasia Beverly Hills Brow Wiz in dark brown. So basically, the human body, how do I explain this? The parts of your body that you see, like your hair, your nails, your skin, that's all like protein, right? So you know how people talk about how the skin from your finger or a piece of your nail or an eyelash, all of that material contains the same exact DNA, the DNA that makes up your being, your body, your organs, everything. But each piece of you carries the exact code, the exact same code. So that's your DNA. That's the recipe for you. And the thing that separates an eyebrow from an eyelash, from finger skin or whatever, is the genes on that DNA strand that are expressed, right? So even though this hair contains the same information as this nail, the genes that are expressed are the eyebrow hair genes or the nail genes, and everything else is suppressed, not expressed, if that makes sense, right? Your DNA is inside of your cells, and it's protected inside of those cells. Very protected. God intended it to be that way. It's very protected because it's special. It's like G14 classified information that no one should have access to, okay? Except people that need to have access to it. So yeah, so mRNA, or messenger RNA, is your body's way of keeping that DNA protected, but also carrying the information where it needs to be. So, for example, when your body is making protein, the way it does it is with using your mRNA so that your DNA can stay at home, and stay safe, right? So their mRNA goes inside of the nucleus and where the DNA is living, inside of the DNA's house, and it takes information from the DNA, and then it carries that information outside of the nucleus to your protein producing factories. Now, the process by which the mRNA does that is called transcription, right? So think about the word transcription. And my biology students, my pre-med students, you all know about transcription and translation, right? Those are the two processes. So transcription is the mRNA going inside, talking to the DNA in the same language, right? mRNA, DNA, they speak the same language, and getting information from it, and then carrying that information outside of the nucleus so that it can be translated, right, into a different language, and that language is the protein language. So that's how the normal physiologic process works with mRNA and DNA. I don't like my eyebrow today. It happens. Okay. So I needed to do my eyebrows off camera because I was having some technical difficulties. And then I got a little carried away with what I was doing off camera, which is why my face looks like this now. So while I was away, I set my under eye and the center of my face and stuff with the Fenty Beauty setting powder in the shade Banana. And that's actually it. That's actually all I did. Next, I'm going to be taking the Huda Beauty Naughty Palette to do my eyes. Okay, so where was I? Transcription and translation. Okay, so yeah, so basically the mRNA goes into the nucleus and transcribes the information from the DNA. And then it takes that information to the protein making centers, which are outside of the nucleus, in order to make the proteins. They code for whatever part of the body it's trying to make. Now that's how the normal physiologic process works. That's the way that God created your body to work. Now science has taken those processes and manipulated them for our benefit, or hopefully for our benefit. So what the COVID vaccines, the COVID mRNA vaccines have sought to do is start the process of or start from the process of translation. So the mRNA vaccines have the code, the genetic code from the coronavirus to make the spike protein, which is the part of the coronavirus that causes an immune response. Yeah, so basically the mRNA vaccine, the goal is to inject you with the mRNA and basically give your body the recipe to make the coronavirus spike protein so that your immune system can recognize it and fight it and build up antibodies to fight it. So that's the goal. These shadows are pigmented. Okay, all right, Huda. Now, the issue is this. There are a lot of conspiracy theories about the government using these mRNA vaccines to kill Black people or to track people or just all types of craziness that I just can't even give any further insight to, honestly. I've ranted about it on my Instagram stories. Yeah, so if you'd like to hear my thoughts on those conspiracy theories, check out my Instagram stories at Ciri PMD on Instagram. The thing about these mRNA vaccines that causes me to have questions, and I'm not a conspiracy theorist, is that one of the issues with making mRNA vaccines is that mRNA is very unstable, and it's a relatively large molecule when you compare it to other molecules that have been turned into vaccines, right? And so the issue comes with administering it so that it gets into your body to do what it needs to do. And one of the issues or challenges with creating an mRNA vaccine is that your body will degrade it as soon as it's introduced into you. Your body has mechanisms to just degrade it because it's unstable. And so that's always been an issue. And I mean, I'm hoping that they've overcome that issue with whatever they've done to these new mRNA vaccines. And it seems like they have. Well, I'll get to that, but it seems like one of the vaccines has. But yeah, so if you can imagine shooting someone up with mRNA and hoping that mRNA gets to that person's protein producing factories to make the protein to be identified by the immune system to provoke an immune response. Like that's the goal. So in order to see whether or not that happens, you should probably be checking for antibodies, right? The other thing is when someone's body is reacting to the mRNA, they can develop a fever, they can develop just immune type symptoms just because your body is fighting the mRNA itself because it's not supposed to be there. It's not your mRNA. When people talk about like, oh, I got the Pfizer vaccine and I developed a fever and I developed this and that lets me know my body's working. That lets me know the vaccine is working. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. You could very well just be reacting to the fact that you just got shot up with mRNA that's not yours. In any event, with the Moderna vaccine, now Pfizer did not, if you read the Pfizer study, it's out there. they did not check their participants for antibody titers. They basically just said, oh, we gave this group of people the vaccine, we didn't give this group of people the vaccine, and we sat back and watched what happened. We let them decide whether or not they were gonna wear masks or socially distance. That's it. That's all you did. With your $1 billion budget, that's all you did? Okay. Now Moderna, at least, they check for antibody titers, right? So you can bet your bottom dollar that the people that are having reactions to that vaccines are likely reacting because their body's producing an immune response because they actually have antibody titers. What I want these people who got the Pfizer vaccine to do, if you've gotten it, just 3 weeks from your second dose, go get an antibody check and see if you have antibodies, because I'm curious. So yeah, so that's how mRNA vaccines are supposed to work. This eyeshadow palette is the bomb. Now, in another video, I can go into detail, even more detail than I did in my IG stories, about my criticisms of the Pfizer study and my praise of the Moderna study. I can do that in more detail if y'all want. Just drop a comment, let me know. Oh, so for those of you who care to know, and honestly, I think a lot of people that watch my videos don't really too much care about the makeup. They care more about the medicine, but that's fine. For my makeup people, from this palette, I used Rough as my transition shade. I used Naughty as the darker color that I put on the outer V, and I'm using Irresistible as my lid shade. For those of y'all who are learning makeup or trying to get into makeup and eyeshadow, keep it simple, you know. So use a transition shade that's about the color of your skin tone. Get a shade that's a little bit darker to kind of deepen the crease and add some depth, and then like a shimmer shade for your lid. I mean, keep it simple, keep it simple. The other thing I want to talk about is that it bothers me that there are conflicting recommendations. So the UK has very different guidance for pregnant women than we do. It's a problem. We're talking about the same vaccines here, right? And why is there different information for the UK pregnant women and a different recommendation for the US pregnant women? That's a problem. Next, I'm going to be taking my Fenty Beauty bronzer in the shade Beige and Gal. So I find that to be problematic. Now, in the US, we're saying, you know, the vaccine should not be withheld from pregnant women. Basically, let the woman decide. But the UK says if you're pregnant, you should not get it. You should consider not getting it. And that makes perfect sense because the vaccine has not been studied in pregnant women. And the interesting thing is that ACOG, they're wording, they're saying, you know, the vaccine should not be withheld from pregnant women. But some OBs are interpreting it as an actual recommendation, like they're recommending it for pregnant women. I don't know about all of that. Personally, if I were pregnant or planning to become pregnant, I wouldn't be getting it. But yeah, no, I'm not about to risk something happening to my fetus over this vaccine. I'd rather just sit at home. And I'll say it again, I'll say what I've been saying over and over again. Other countries have gotten this virus under control without a vaccine. Why is it that we can't do the same? I don't understand it. It's nice that we have a vaccine. It's nice that this option exists, but one, we don't know how good of an option it is at this point. And yeah, I don't know. I just wish we would have gotten this under control without a vaccine, personally. Next, I'm going to be taking my MAC Mineralized Skin Finish in Medium Tan. Next, I'm going to go in with the MAC Studio Fix Foundation in the shade C3.5. Now, where was I? Oh, ACOG and their recommendation for pregnancy. So I find that to be problematic. And that's another one of the things that makes me feel like, or that just lets me know that the rhetoric and the information surrounding this vaccine has been just politicized, and no one cares, to be honest, with the American people. Yeah, and so I have questions. I have lots of questions. Now, that's not to say that I'm not a fan of the scientists who have worked tirelessly to create these vaccines. I commend them, I applaud them, I thank them. But yeah, I just have questions. Oh, for blush right now I'm using Max Peach Twist. All right, next is lips. Okay, we talked about the whole mRNA, we talked about vaccines and how they work. We talked about mRNA technology and why it should work. We talked about the UK versus the US and their recommendations. We talked about, yeah, that's all I got for y'all. I need to do some more research on the AstraZeneca vaccine and the, I don't know, whatever new vaccines they're coming out with for this coronavirus. But what I will say is one other piece of information that I found about the Moderna vaccine recently is that they did a study to look at durability of the immune response, because they checked for antibody titers in their study, like I said. And what happened was they monitored individuals for 119 days to see what their titers would do. And of course they saw the titers were dying down over time, but there was still some sort of neutralizing antibody left at 119 days. And I presume that they're gonna keep doing these types of studies just to see where people's antibody titers are, so they can speak to the durability of these vaccines, because at this point in time we don't even know. Like, natural infection definitely does not confer lifelong immunity. I've taken care of a number of COVID patients that have come in with their second bout of COVID, like within a year's time. So hopefully these vaccines confer lifelong immunity. We don't know yet though. All right, so I just used cork lip liner to line my lips. Next, I'm going to be going in with some more new makeup. I'm going to be taking the Fenty Beauty Gloss Bomb Cream in the shade Cookie Jar. And again, I am neither encouraging nor discouraging anyone from getting this vaccine. Do what you want. Talk to your primary care doctor. Listen to their advice if you trust them. I'm gonna take the Pat McGrath fetish eyes. So yeah, talk to your doctor, make a decision after talking to your doctor, and go from there. That's the best advice I have for you. And yeah, I will say one more thing. Stop with the conspiracy theories about vaccines and the government, and just, can we stop? Can we please stop? Because it's not helping anybody at all. And then, I don't know, I just hear people say a lot of dumb things like, oh, doctors just get paid to push vaccines, and so that's why they do it. No, my salary is the same, whether you take a shot or not. The reason we push vaccines is because they work. Yeah, and speaking of that, I will also say, I mentioned herd immunity in my last video, and I said 70% was all we needed, or that should help the situation. I should add to that, 70% is like the minimum threshold for anything to be considered to have herd immunity. But depending on the disease, that number could be higher than that. So like for instance, I think, I don't know, don't give me the line, but there are certain diseases that require 90% of immunity to first have herd immunity and be protected. There's some diseases that require 80%. 70% is just the minimum threshold to say that we have herd immunity, or at least some level of it. Oh, actually, let me do this. I have another Gloss Bomb cream. I'll put it on. I have Cookie Jar that I just put on, and then Fenty Glow. I'll put on the Fenty Glow too, for those of my makeup people who care. All right, so that is all I have for you all for today. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, share this video with someone else who may be interested in hearing this information, and let me know what other topics you want to know about. I have some other ideas for coronavirus vaccine videos that I can do. But yeah, let me know what you all want to hear. Let me know what questions you have, and I will gladly answer them. So until next time, bye.